The election that shocked the world.
This means that Donald Trump will be the 45th
President-elect of the United States of America, Donald Trump.
So after the election, Paul and the president-elect at the time began talking about the agenda pretty quickly. And then there was a visit to New York in December of 2016 where Paul sort of laid out the big things that we thought we could get done in this Congress.
Very exciting meeting.
We started with healthcare in part because healthcare was very immediate, and it was one of those things that we felt we could get to a good resolution on more quickly than we could on tax reform.
Repeal and replace.
The House took the biggest step yet to make good on its vow to repeal and replace Obamacare.
The truth is the bill faces an uncertain future in the Senate.
The Senate fell basically one vote short of health care reform, but I think that put even more pressure, concentrated the minds of the Republican Senate that we had to do tax reform.
We couldn't run the same approach on tax reform that we had on health care. And so a critical moment emerged when the president agreed in his cabinet to work with House Republicans and Senate Republican tax writers on one framework.
You know, one of the biggest problems with health care is that Republicans weren't all on the same page. We wanted to avoid that process on tax, and so that's where the Big Six came from. That's why it was critical to have the Treasury Secretary and the NEC Director in the room, as well as Senator McConnell, Senator Hatch. It's not just the Paul Ryan or Kevin Brady plan. It's owned by more people. And then let the tax writing committees actually write the bills.
You know, so many times in Washington, D.C., when you're a member of Congress, you find that you don't get to get into the legislative process. Sometimes a piece of legislation is coming to you from a chairman and you have very little opportunity to impact what it looks like or how it's debated or even how it's going to be implemented once it's signed into law. This tax reform package was completely different.
The House, we stripped this tax code down to the foundations. Everyone brought their best ideas to the table and we were able to incorporate so many of them.
This was the first time that the members were driving tax reform.
Every once in a generation, you can convince politicians that the general interest of these reforms clearly needs to prevail over the special interest.
We said if we don't get this done by the end of the year and it bleeds into an election year, we probably can't get it done. And we mapped out a calendar and we saw very quickly, you can't lose a week. We're going to run out of time. It's going to push everything back and we're going to run out of time.